7 o'clock, I'd like to call the Mount Vernon City Council meeting to order. I would ask that you join me in the flag salute. And Juan, would you lead us in the flag salute this evening?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I'm going to call the roll of the council. Councilmember Beaton.
Here.
Councilmember Brocksmith.
Here.
Councilmember Correas.
Here.
Councilmember Hudson.
Here.
Councilmember Morales.
Here.
And Councilmember Molinar.
Here.
And I'm Councilmember Holst. I'm filling in for Mayor Boudreau as she is not feeling well this evening, so I'm acting as Mayor Pro Tem. So our first order of business this evening is review of emails from the public. Peter, is there any emails from the public?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, you do have two emails from the public. One came from Crystal Hobbs, who's the coordinator at the Mount Vernon Senior Center. And this is maybe more of an awareness piece and an invitation to council. It says, and to the community, please come and help us celebrate the Mount Vernon Senior Center's 50th anniversary on Tuesday, October 24th. Open house from 2 to 5, and the location is 1401 Cleveland Avenue in Mount Vernon. Oh yeah, please RSVP. And if you would like to RSVP, the public can contact the mayor's office, and I will get that long email address to you. The second correspondence was from Mr. Gary Shelby. And Mr. Shelby writes, "Good afternoon, City Council. My name is Gary Shelby. I've been a resident of Mount Vernon, Washington for over 25 years. I'm currently seeking my degree in political science. I'm the founder of the Black Student Union and past president. I was elected student issues representative for Student Council. I've also been a resident advisor at Skagit Valley College. The reason I'm addressing the council is to bring attention to rising concerns and issues involving discrimination, racial profiling, and harassment. I've been under at least 17 investigations fueled by hearsay, never found guilty or responsible for these unwarranted accusations. Some of these accusations were presented to law enforcement, but the law enforcement found that there was no valid reason or evidence to move forward in seeking charges against me. Over this last summer, I have been harassed by campus security along with student housing director. As a public and community college which receives federal funding, I feel that these issues need to be addressed, and I'm seeking support of the city to look into these issues which have harmed and prevented my ability to be successful. I'm placing my faith in our ability as a community to protect my rights and prevent a few rogue, unprofessional employees from abusing my rights any further. I am a black man, a minority of this amazing city of Mount Vernon. I believe that we, the people, can work together and address these problems, which will prevent outsourcing of said issues and concerns. Thank you for your time." And that is all of your public comments.
All right. Thank you, Peter. I'd like to remind the public that if you'd like to submit letters to the council and have those read during a council meeting, you can send your comments to community comments at mountVernonWA.gov, and you'll have your opinion read into the minutes. Public comments. So is there anyone in the audience this evening that would like to address council for comments? All right. Just make your way up to the podium. Please state your name, city of residence, and please hold your comments to about 3 minutes.
Absolutely. Well, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. My name is David Thomas, and I moved to Mount Vernon in 2019 from Arlington. Since I moved to town immediately before COVID, I had plenty of opportunities during the pandemic to explore Mount Vernon's many parks and public spaces. One of my favorite places in the entire city is Hillcrest Park, which is located within walking distance of my house. During COVID, I walked my dogs almost daily to the park and threw their ball in the south field. After my college commencement from Western was canceled, my family organized a graduation ceremony in the Hillcrest Park gazebo, one of my best memories. Needless to say, the park holds a special place in my heart. Therefore, I was deeply saddened several weeks ago when I drove by the park and saw crews cutting down dozens of trees where I used to sit and play. By my estimate, the city cut down roughly 50 well-established ponderosa pines, which were all older than I am. The spot where I used to picnic and bird watch under the trees was gone. I've heard rumors that the city plans to construct athletic fields in this location, which is a laudable goal for our community. However, I don't understand why the stately trees which surrounded the field had to go in order for this to happen. Obviously, what's done is done, and there's no bringing my little forest back. But I hope that the Parks Department will consider planting an equal or greater number of trees to the ones they chopped down. And also, I hope that our city will closely consider the environmental impact of these types of growth decisions. You never know what a tree means to someone. Thank you for hearing my thoughts, council members, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. We could have our Parks Director contact you if maybe you could leave an email address with our clerk. We could kind of lay out the plans. There are plans to replant those trees. There's
Absolutely.
a complete set of plans, so we can get that information to you.
I would be very happy to hear that information.
All right.
Thank you very much, council.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Michelle Cowen. I live in Conway and own a business and property in downtown Mount Vernon. I'm here today to express my support for the Mount Vernon City Council in exploring any and all options to address the real problem of safety of people camped on the streets and sidewalks in Mount Vernon. The uncomfortable truth is that while not all people who are experiencing homelessness use drugs, the camps on the streets and sidewalks are highly correlated with illicit drug use and illegal and unsafe behaviors that come with these addictions. Today, I walked on the sidewalk between Goodwill and the Dollar Tree, and there were at least 7 men who had set up camp on the sidewalk, one of whom was openly using a torch and making, assume, meth or crack with needles at the ready. 2 of the men were on guard, or appeared to be on guard, with their bikes. They stared me down as I walked to and from my car and made eye contact with me even as I drove off in my car. It was clear that their intent was to intimidate. Additionally, in May of this year, my 16-year-old daughter, 5'2", cute as a button, got her first job as a courtesy clerk at Safeway, just on College Way across the street. It was a great job for her, and she saw a potential career working at Safeway. But every day, literally every day she came home, she was exposed to people camped in the parking lot, shooting drugs, overdosing, needles, bags of marijuana, pill bags that she would ask me, what are those blue pills? What are those white pills? Shoplifting, litter. They shouted obscenities at her if they thought she was reporting them. Men that were high on drugs followed her around the store, and she had to call managers to escort her back to the front. We forced her to quit just this last week due to safety concerns. She was crushed to have quit her job this month. The challenges to successfully addressing homelessness are admittedly complicated and complex. And frankly, I don't know if those 7 men that I saw today were homeless or not, but they were camping on the sidewalk. The person camped out on the streets due to addiction and mental illness needs solutions that are different than the person with homelessness because they've fallen on hard times, who is not dealing with addiction and drug use or mental illness. People who want help getting off the street, getting clean, or getting mental health treatment deserve those services, but that does not mean we should allow these unsafe environments in our community. I want that man shooting meth to be safe, to be off the streets and to be clean, but allowing him to remain on the streets publicly shooting up does him no service and makes our community unsafe. He and his associates have addiction and should be offered treatment, and if they refuse, we should not tolerate them camping on the streets and sidewalks. My daughter deserves to be able to get and keep a job at Safeway in a safe environment. We all deserve to be able to walk and live in our community without intimidation, exposure to illicit drug use, and dangerous waste. Businesses deserve to be successful and not to lose employees, customers, and property due to safety concerns from people camped in private and public property. Please continue to address these important issues to keep us all safe and thriving. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cowan, for your comments. Is there anyone else wishing to address council this evening? Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, council members. My name's Adair Orr, 1007 McLean Road, West Mount Vernon. I recently became aware that the State Department of Transportation is planning improvements for the Highway 536 bridge. That's the Division Street Bridge from downtown to the west side. And I'm aware that Chris Demetrio, the WashDOT Regional Director, has presented to City Council. In my conversations with him, I learned that WashDOT intends to clean and paint the bridge. And as you're aware, they're also considering ways to improve non-motorized traffic and manage various factors of motorized traffic. This is pretty exciting news since the right-of-way obviously has its shortcomings. I want to emphasize that this bridge has an important presence on the city's waterfront. It's a historic structure built quite artfully of riveted steel and rather expressive concrete detail in 1954. It represents a story of stern wheel snag boats moored on spud anchors nearby and river traffic that we have little other evidence of today. It's also unique for being so close to our downtown. It's part of our downtown. It has a presence as substantial as much of our building stock. I don't have to tell council how poor the pedestrian experience is on this bridge, and I don't have to advocate for a better connection between West Mount Vernon and downtown. I'm thrilled that in our CIP we have a placeholder for a devoted pedestrian structure, and I'm excited about that possibility. Our priorities seem clear. What I'd like to express to council tonight is that we have an opportunity to gather targeted input into how this important existing structure gets improved. WashDOT wants our input because the decisions they make will have a big impact on our city, but I think our time is very limited. The improvements I described are planned to begin in the spring of 2025. That would go to bid in early 2025, and of course their design process will be in full swing well in advance of that. The range of improvements that might be considered are varied and require thoughtful, bold solutions. As you're aware from Mr. Demicio's presentation, the bridge can't bear additional loads, so traffic revisions need to happen within the existing deck width. WashDOT is considering a raised active transport platform. Not exactly sure on what that is, but excuse me. But what about the bicycle traffic that mixes with auto traffic? Are sharrows or shared lane markings going to be considered to help drivers be aware of cyclists? Could specific lighting be incorporated that enhances visibility? What signage has been implemented successfully in other case studies that does its job but doesn't create visual pollution in our city? There are other questions. Obvious one, what color is the bridge going to be? Can the structure be lit more expressively? And how do bridge traffic improvements connect with our city traffic infrastructure beyond the abutments? There's a real opportunity to celebrate this old swing bridge, and I hope that council can gather input from people and organizations in this community who are invested, who have direct experience, and who have imagination to make the most of the attention that our state Department of Transportation seems prepared to provide. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address council this evening? All right. If not, we will move on. First order of business, the adoption of our consent agenda. Our consent agenda consists of the approval of the September 27th, 2023 regular council meeting minutes, the approval of the October 5th, 2023 payroll checks, approval of the October 11th, 2023 claims, and I believe that's all that's on that agenda. What is the wishes of the council?
I will motion for the approval of the consent agenda, except with the notice to the rest of the council. I did talk to Mr. Valesky about the difference, how council members voted on September 27th. After item C, it goes from 6-0 to 5-0. Mr. Valesky will look into that. We'll have video of it, and he'll make the correction afterwards, after it's approved. So I'll motion for the approval.
So a motion's been made to approve the consent agenda upon the investigation of the correct vote total on one of the items in the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Beaton. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by a sign of nay. Ayes have it. The consent agenda is adopted. All right, committee reports. Councilmember Molinar is going to present the Public Works and Library Committee report.
Okay, tonight at 6 o'clock, we open the meeting, and first up, Blaine Chesterfield, our Program Coordination Division, talked to us about the countywide local source control program, which was a ecology requirement, and it started in January of 2023. During this initial year, there have been 51 businesses inspected and 38 corrective actions taken within the city of Mount Vernon as of last week. The local source control program agreement with the Sketchik County needs to be renewed, and that will be covered tonight in our council agenda. Next, Bill Bullock gave us some project updates. The Hogue LaVenture signal is now operational, and WashDOT will continue to make adjustments and refine this, the signal timing over the next couple of weeks. The project will be physically complete by November as the contractor finishes up cleanup, seeding, and restoration. The city has received the initial report on the Eaglemont Wall repair option and monitor survey points for movement over the winter before finalizing the final repair solution. We also talked about Riverside Drive project. There's gonna be a whole redoing of that area, and there's gonna be an open house in November of this year to kind of allow the public to have some input in on that. Next, we had librarian Isaac Huffman told us about the topmost level of the parking garage is now complete. There was also so there will be no more pouring of any cement. Additionally, the solar panel brackets have now been installed on the top of the roof and on the side of the building. He also gave a review of the annual school district progress report, showed a successful relationship with the city and the Mount Vernon School District, and new goals have been set for this partnership. Under general updates included adding the button maker to the Library of Things, program success, staffing updates, and the foundation progress report. There is also the Fiesta Folklorica that is going to be held at Hillcrest Park Lodge, and on October 28th, there's going to be a Fix-It Day where you can bring your household items in and people will help you fix them. And so that there are a couple of different community things that are scheduled there. Under the good order, we talked about the flood awareness is next week. We also talked about traffic issues and fire station funding issues, and then we closed meeting at 6:57.
Thank you, Councilmember Moore. Next report is our Public Safety Committee meeting. Our Public Safety Committee meeting was held last Wednesday, October 4th, 6 o'clock here in council chambers. We started our meeting off with a conversation about a camping ordinance that was led by both Chief Kamick and our city attorney, Kevin Rogerson. Had a pretty in-depth conversation. There's a number of municipalities that have passed camping ordinances. The young lady that was here earlier was referring to some of those camping ordinances. And what we're looking at is how do we implement those that particular camping orders or that ordinance itself, and still comply with rulings that have come down from judges that say that those folks that are on the street, camped out, have a right to be there, or they have to have an alternative place to go. We had a pretty in-depth conversation. I'd say that conversation lasted close to an hour and 15 minutes. A lot of questions were asked from council members, a lot of concern about the safety of our public, the safety of our business community, and the welfare of those that find themselves homeless and on the street. And a number of questions have been presented. That's gone back. We'll be getting more information on that. We'll be continuing this discussion in future committee meetings. Then they had a little bit of discussion on our budget. We're starting the 2024 budget process. We had some discussion of what projected revenues might look like. Didn't really set any numbers for what those are going to be in 2024. We're still looking at some of the 2023 numbers. Our sales tax is up for 2023. Our real estate tax coming in right on target, which it always does, and then our transportation benefit district income is coming in above target. Really all our revenues for the city are above target, with the exception of our real estate excise tax, which we kind of expected a bit of a downturn in that with the higher interest rates. People aren't moving around so much. So we're just started those budget conversations. We're gonna have a lot more of those in the coming weeks. We had an update from the mayor on the Library Commons project. Her and Peter Donovan, incoming mayor Peter Donovan, and our finance director Doug Valesky went back to Washington, D.C. They had a meeting with some of our representatives there. They also met with the Department of Transportation. And they're looking at some other grant opportunities and monies that we have an opportunity to put towards the Library Commons project. So there's some real positive news coming from there. And then we had a discussion about our CDBG, or Community and Economic Development grants that come from HUD, and kind of how those are going to be allocated out. And we closed the meeting about 8:30. Now we'll move back to the other agenda. So, council member comments. Is there any council member comments? No council member comments? Any committee agenda requests? Everybody knows better than to make a committee agenda request at budget time, right? All right. One item for council to note is we have withdrawn item E, the public hearing this evening. All the documentation was not in place, so it's been withdrawn for the evening, and it'll come back before council at a time that is ready to present. So with that, we're gonna move on to agenda item A, which is an agreement with Skagit Gleaners, and I'd invite Peter Donovan to present that.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Hello, council. The city of Mount Vernon has awarded federal HUD funding in the amount of $36,970 to Skagit Gleaners. If that sounds familiar, that's because that was in this year's CDBG annual action plan that was approved by council back in May. This is an agreement from that action plan just put into place, and we bring it back to council because it's over the $10,000 threshold. Skagit Gleaners has identified the equipment needed to assist in operations of food delivery, and they've fulfilled the HUD subrecipient requirements, which Executive Director Morgan Curry from the Gleaners is here tonight. She will attest that's not an easy checklist to complete. That federal checklist is done, however, in this case, which is great. If council has questions about that project, Morgan is here to answer those questions if you'd like. But with that, staff is recommending that council authorize the mayor to enter into this CDBG agreement with Skagit Gleaners in the amount of $36,970 for the purchase of a walk-in freezer for the Gleaners.
Is there any questions for Mr. Donovan? Any questions for Skagit Gleaners? What is the wishes of the council?
I'll move that we, did you want to do that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If there is no question, I would like to move this motion and for the approval for the Skagit Gleaners and just to have this agreement to get this.
Okay, Councilmember Correas has made a motion to approve the agreement with Skagit Gleaners, and seconded by Councilmember Hudson.
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by a sign of nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
And thank you for the job you do in the community.
Our next order of business is the approval of the 2024 through 2029 capital improvement projects document. And Mr. Donovan is here to present that also.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. The draft CIP, the Capital Improvement Plan for 2024 to 2029 is proposed as the city's yearly update to the capital facilities element of the comprehensive plan. So comprehensive plan, large overarching 20-year goals, and CIP is below that, and it's how we're going to get there. Within 6 years, we identify some items that we need in the city. The draft CIP has been available to the public on the city website or by request in person for the past 30 days. No written comments have been received. The CIP, again, 6-year plan of capital projects with estimated costs and proposed methods of financing that's updated annually. So the Washington State Growth Management Act requires jurisdictions that are fully planning under the GMA to include a capital facilities plan in their comprehensive plans. The capital facilities element is required before a jurisdiction can impose GMA impact fees. There are also a number of other benefits to having a CIP in place, not the least of which is it's a planning document. So we can look forward and think of how we can fund important projects. This process begins with department heads submitting their capital requests, and then the mayor and staff meet with the department heads to review, to revise their requests. The draft CIP is then assembled, it's sent to the Washington State Department of Commerce for a 60-day review. And it's then taken to Planning Commission for a public hearing. And in this case, that went before the Planning Commission on September 19th of this year for review and recommended approval. And then finally, it's taken before City Council, just here tonight as a public hearing for review and for recommended approval. The Washington State Department of Commerce has approved the city's 2024 to 29 capital improvements plan. Following a public hearing, the Mount Vernon Planning Commission voted to recommend that City Council approve the city's draft capital improvements plan. So tonight, staff recommends that council hold an open record public hearing to obtain any final input from the public on the CIP. And then following the public hearing, staff is recommending council adoption of an ordinance adopting the CIP.
All right. Is there any questions for Mr. Donovan? So if there's no question, I would open the open public record hearing. So anybody wishing to comment on the 2024 through 2029 CIP, please step forward and again, state your name, city of residence, and make any comments that you have on the plan. Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to close the open public record hearing. And this would be ordinance 3874.
I would move for approval of ordinance 3874.
Second.
Motion is made by Councilmember Hudson and seconded by Councilmember Beaton to adopt ordinance 3874, sorry. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by a sign of nay? Nay. Aye. Okay. Ayes have it. Please note that there was one nay in our minutes. All right, next order of business is the approval of a restrictive covenant with the Lincoln Theater.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. The City Council, you know this, owns property on First Street that houses the Lincoln Theater. The Lincoln Theater Foundation has been awarded a grant by the Washington State Department of Commerce to make improvements to the theater's HVAC system, which, side note, that's awesome. It's much needed, both heat, but mostly cooling in the summer. State Department of Commerce wants assurances that the property for which they are granting the funding will remain in use as a theater open to the public for a minimum of 10 years. I know that council recognizes the significance that the Lincoln Theater holds in the appeal and the enhancement of the city's downtown core. The city's existing lease with the Lincoln is set to expire or renew in 2029. And at that time, staff believes that it is likely that the city and the Lincoln Theater would renew an agreement that would ensure that the property continues to be used as a theater. Because of that likelihood, staff is comfortable recommending that council authorize the mayor to provide assurances to the Washington State Department of Commerce that the property currently leased to the Lincoln Theater will be used as a public theater for a period of at least 10 years following the HVAC improvements that would be made using Commerce grant funding.
Is there any questions? Hearing no questions, what's the pleasure of the council?
If I hear no questions, I'll motion for the approval for the mayor to provide assurance to the Washington State Department of Commerce that the property currently leased to the Lincoln Theater will be used as a public theater for a period of at least 10 years following the HVAC improvements that would be made using the Commerce grant funding.
Motion's been made by Councilmember Morales, seconded by Councilmember Molinar. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by a sign of nays. The ayes have it. Motion carries. And we're going to invite our finance director, Mr. Valesky, to come talk to us about debt book. That just doesn't even sound good, Doug.
Does anything anymore I bring up here. So, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. So tonight, staff recommends council make a motion to authorize the mayor to enter into a contract renewal with debt books. So, in June of 17, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, which is, these are all GASBs that the city has to follow. We're mandated to make sure we are following them. They issued statement number 87, which is on leases, which came effective beginning of June 15, 2021. So this past year, we've been having to enter all of our leases, and we're talking if we're the leasee or leaseor, we're talking copier machines, cell tower leases, rentals, gravel leases, anything we have. And anyway, we had to include all of those in our 2022 financial statements. And it is currently, right now, being heavily audited by the state auditors. So then in May of 2020, GASB issued statement number 96, which is a subscription-based information technology arrangements for all subscription software. And so right now, what we'd like to do is add that module also to our debt book software. And right now, Mary Thomas is working, our director, Mary Thomas, is working with debt books to get all those IS subscriptions categorized, so if we move in here, we're ready to go in there. So anyway, the implementation, accounting, and reporting of these two GASBs is very detailed and complicated. The city owned debt books debt module and added their lease module in 2022 to help track and implement GASB 87. So this year in 2023, the city would like to add the subscription module to help with implementation, accounting, and reporting for GASB 96. The attached debt book quote is for a 3-year products and services agreement for a total cost of $43,000, including all subscriptions and implementation charges. So city staff is requesting council to authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement with debt book for a 3-year renewal for products and services in the amount of $43,000.
Are there any questions for Director Valesky?
Seeing no questions, I'll make a motion that council authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement with debt books for a three-year renewal.
Second.
Motion has been made by Councilmember Beaton, seconded by Councilmember Morales. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by a sign of nay. Ayes have it. That agreement is approved.
Thank you.
And Mr. Bullock, did he go home?
Mayor Pro Tem, he did. I've got this one.
Okay.
So,
He was a lot more entertaining earlier, though.
yeah. Well, thank you, sir. One, I'd like to just acknowledge Director Valesky and his multitasking. It's an awesome job to take minutes as well as do a presentation. So, and shut off your phone. That's true. Yeah. So, Council, Mayor Pro Tem, I'm here to provide a professional services agreement amendment to the 2024 Street Improvement Program Design Services. Staff recommends amending the professional services agreement with Trantech Engineering for engineering and design services for the 2024 Street Improvement Project Program. The project includes grind and asphalt overlay of existing pavement, full depth spot repairs, adjusting existing utilities, upgrading deficient ADA intersection ramps, installing permanent pavement markings, and other work. The street segments selected for these improvements are arterial streets, and they're listed here as North Martin Road, East College Way to McLaughlin Road, South 15th Street, and that includes from East Division to East Broadway, West Kincaid Street, and that's from South 1st Street to South 3rd Street, South 3rd Street, which goes from West Kincaid Street to East Broadway Street, and West Section to South 2nd Street, South 2nd Street, that's West Kincaid Street to Broadway, and then Broadway along 2nd and 3rd. So if you think about that, shouldn't be a surprise, everything around the Mount Vernon Library Commons project is going to be done. So again, really revitalizing that downtown. Trantech Engineering is currently under the contract for engineering services for the 2022 Street Improvement Program. Coupled with their excellent performance on the 2022 street improvement design and timeframe left in the season to produce bid-ready documents in time for the next construction season, Public Works is proposing to amend the contract with Trantech Engineering in lieu of a new selection process to begin engineering on the 2024 project. The scope of the fee for the 2024 design is not to exceed $253,143 and will extend the contract expiration until December 31st of 2024. Staff recommends a motion to authorize the mayor to amend the contract with Trantech for engineering design services for the 2024 street improvement projects in the amount of $253,143, pending your questions.
Thank you, Director Phillips. Is there any questions for Mr. Phillips?
If I hear no questions, I'll motion for the approval, for the authorization for the mayor to amend the current contract, Trantech Engineering, for engineering design services on the 2024 street improvements project in the amount not to exceed $253,143.
Second.
Motion is made by Councilmember Morales, seconded by Councilmember Beaton. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by a sign of nay. The agreement is approved.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chesterfield, you're going to come talk to us about an agreement with Skagit County.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council. Good evening. Yes, this is an interlocal cooperative agreement with Skagit County Public Works for a regional local source control program. Staff recommends that the City Council authorize the mayor to sign the interlocal cooperative agreement with Skagit County for the regional local source control program, which is an ongoing requirement of the city's National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System Phase 2 Municipal Stormwater Permit. That's always a mouthful every time I say it. And the current municipal permit cycle requires the city to maintain a local source control program. The Skagit County Public Works Department is running the regional local source control program, and it will continue to meet those requirements. The annual cost to the city for the regional local source control program is $44,660.42. I don't know how they get it down to such a exact number, but apparently they did. This agreement will be paid for out of the surface water utility. The city of Mount Vernon benefits by splitting the cost for this with other local jurisdictions. So otherwise we'd have to pay the full share of that, and that would cost quite a bit more. The businesses in the region will benefit by getting a clear, consistent regional message on stormwater, the Skagit River, and the environment. And the conclusion is the staff recommends the council to authorize the mayor into the agreement for the interlocal agreement with Skagit County.
Any questions?
I make a motion to authorize the mayor to enter into the interlocal cooperative agreement as described above with Skagit County of a regional local source control program, which will keep the city in compliance and municipal stormwater permit requirements.
Motion was made by Councilmember Molinar,
Second.
seconded by Councilmember Hudson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by a sign of nay. We have an interlocal agreement with Skagit County.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
So we have reached the end of our agenda. I would like to call an executive session of the Mount Vernon City Council to not exceed 20 minutes. And I would ask our city attorney, Kevin Rogerson, to please state the purpose of the executive session.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Hulse. As the Mayor Pro Tem indicated, we will have an executive session on the grounds of discussion with legal counsel, enforcement actions, litigation, or potential litigation to which the city, the governing body, or a member acting in an official capacity is or is likely to become a party. When public knowledge regarding such discussion is likely to result in either adverse legal or adverse financial consequence to the city pursuant to RCW 4230 subsection 110(1)(I), we would convene back and take no further action 20 minutes after 8:05 p.m.
All right, we are adjourned into executive session. I would like to get Mr. Thompson's email address so we make sure we get him some information. You got it? Okay.
Thank you.